Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
Hey, what's going on, travelers? We are back with you for another week of the Success Journey Show. This is Ricky Venters, and I'm here with none other than Marlon Madden. Marlon, what's going on, bro? How you doing today?
Just came out the gym. So,
Sir.
You know, I see you every day. You're hitting it hard. I got to hit it hard, too, because we know in April when we do that 13 miler, man, it's going to be a big thing. So I want to make sure that I'm ready also.
Yeah. You know, I just keep thinking about, man, I keep having flashbacks to the one I did in last summer. And when my legs start cramping up and my body start cramping up. And I'm just like, yo, what do I got to do now, you know, to prevent that? So I just been on the, you know, this trying to run. And, you know, I actually jumped on the Jacob's ladder today.
Oh, man, that's a beast.
Oh, man, that thing took me out.
5 minutes, right? Not even 5.
Yeah, I don't think I did 5 minutes, man.
Not even 5. I'll tell you a quick story, man. I was in the Middle East and I saw the Jacob's ladder and I saw everybody doing it. I was like, whatever, man. And I put the little cord on me, right? Because you have to put the cord thing on you. So I jump on there, brother. I never jumped off of a machine so quick in my life, man. I was like, this thing is the devil.
Take everything out of you.
Yeah, man. Everything out of you.
So, but I realized, you know, that right there is what's going to help me. You know, that Stairmaster, you know, keep running, you know, keep doing the body weight workouts, man. I'm gonna be ready.
Hydration. That you need to hydrate. Like a couple days out, like probably even a week out before you do that. Make sure that you have the fluids in the body so you don't cramp up, man.
Yep, absolutely. So we still pushing it. We're gonna get there. April's gonna come for the first race, man. And I'm excited. I'm already excited to see what the outcome's gonna be. So,
All right.
But yeah, world, we have a fantastic guest with us tonight, and he is going to just share his journey with us. You know, share his story from where he was to where he is and to where he's going. And we're really excited to have him with us today. We're talking about none other than Jason Will. Jason, thank you for joining us.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me. And I hear you guys talking about the half marathon, and I'm actually getting ready for one in March. So,
oh man,
really?
So we're in the same boat here. I I understand where you guys are coming from.
Yeah, man, it's a task. It's a task. But we're throwing in the half marathon and also obstacles. What is it called again, Ricky?
Spartan race.
Yeah, Spartan race. I keep on saying the Tough Mudder, but we're doing the Spartan race. We're doing a 13 miles. So Ricky put it on my plate. So I'm just eating it up.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is this your guys' first half marathon?
Yeah.
Yes.
First one.
No. I've ran half marathon before just for running.
Okay.
I've never run anything over a half marathon. I've walked over.
I don't know if that counts, but we'll still give it to you.
But I've never ran. I'll tell you this: I never ran over a half marathon. That thing is hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, good luck to you, man. When are you running yours?
It's the middle of March. It's in San Diego, and it wraps up at Petco Park, and you can't beat that, right on the water. So sunny San Diego in March, and you've got views for days, so it should be fun.
Oh man, we gonna be running in the trees. Too many views. We gotta switch races, man. We gotta get to San Diego.
No kidding. But thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, hey, yeah, no problem. Absolutely, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up actually in Minnesota, which if you're from the Midwest, you're used to doing the desk job thing, and it just wasn't for me. And ultimately ended up leaving about 8 years ago. Spent some time in Chicago, a little bit in San Francisco. And I seem to be making my way wherever the business dictates I should go. So now I'm in San Diego for the time being, and really excited about the future. As you guys probably could see online, Zipkick today is really an influencer marketing company in its current form. But that industry in and of itself is less than a decade old. right? I mean, Facebook came out in 2004, which was 14 years ago.
Yep.
But what was it at that time? It was an online directory, right? It was no different than the white pages with a little bit of extra stuff, right? And, when we think about, this red ocean, blue ocean sort of industry, we're very much in the red ocean right now. It's yet to be defined. We've got a lot of new players, a lot of different things that are going on. And there's a lot more to be done. And I'm just really excited about the future of where the industry is going, but even more so, the companies that need the industry to continue to evolve to expand their business.
Yes, I'm telling you, Jason. I was looking for your page, and I saw that you're the CEO actually of the company, and I just want you to tell us how that company was birthed, where you were before that, into the birth of that company.
So I think, when you're an entrepreneur at heart, you're going to find your way to entrepreneurship. The whole desk job thing never made sense to me, right? And I think a lot of millennials can relate to this, and even people that are kind of the next generations after millennials, which is we really want to work whenever we want to work and the fashion that we enjoy working. And we get inspiration from other places that are not within, a traditional environment. And, this sort of get the job done at all costs, that sort of thing is kind of how we work. And, I found that in myself that being on the road as a technology consultant for a few years, it was nice doing the travel thing, but it was the mundane day to day where you couldn't really decide what problems you wanted to work on when you came into the office. Everything was kind of set up for you, and you were working on things that were kind of given to you. And being an entrepreneur, literally you wake up every day and you pick the biggest problems that you want to tackle that day. And that's how your day is constructed. And I think that's an incredibly liberating thing.
So with that, in terms of where your business is now, were you just thinking about something one day? Like, and you said you left from Minnesota, say you couldn't do the desk job thing, and now, went to San Francisco and to now San Diego, and you think about transitioning from there. But, in all of that, how did just this idea birth, and what kind of skill set did you possess to feel as though you were ready to launch something?
So
like this?
Zipkick actually started off as a travel booking company. That was a personalized way to search and book hotels. And I had never started a company before, and I probably picked the most complicated thing to start on the planet because travel data is not easy to get access to. It's incredibly expensive. And you think about that, right? I mean, it's a risk if you just have anybody who can book tickets for airlines and all this other kind of stuff. So I get why there's so much regulation around that industry. And ultimately, we built a decent sized business. And again, when you first start a business, you really don't know what you're doing. You're figuring it out as you go. And we had tremendous success early on, and actually had a company that wanted to acquire us within the early stages. And I remember at that time, I just didn't like the alternative of going back to work for somebody else again. And the company continued to pivot over a series of months, which turned into a couple of years. And as influencers, really became an industry, we had already built a community of them around the first concept that we built, which was the travel booking site. And what I realized is that we needed to evolve the way that we support influencers and we help them grow and be able to monetize their following. And I just didn't think that it was being done in a personalized way, which is why Zipkick really birthed into what it is today. And ultimately where we're going in the future is going to open up even more opportunities for the influencers, but also that whole make money when you want to make money. You control your time. You have an expertise that you can lend to other people. It's incredibly important for them to be able to have those things at their fingertips.
Love it.
Good, man. You're saying a lot that people that are out there right now that's listening that going to start their company. A lot of people think they got to research for 5 years before they start their company. They have to make sure of course you have your risk management that you put in place to ensure that your business is going to at least sustain itself or run itself for a little bit. But a lot of people just out there right now just listening saying, man, I have to research. I have to make sure all my ducks are in a row. But I like the fact that you said you just started. You didn't know what you're doing. You put a foot forward and you made sure that happened. So how did everybody, when you're doing you had your secure job and now you're telling your family, your friends, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever the situation is, hey, I'm about to start this company and this is going to be what I'm going to do.
It's a weird conversation when you talk to your parents about such a thing, right? You know, you've worked your whole life to get to where you are, and whole life is relative, right? When I first started diving into this, I was 25 years old. And and the thing is that you really don't know much, right? And really at 25, I don't think you really know a ton in life anyways, right? You're still going through a lot of life experiences and still trying to kind of find yourself in a way, right? And you know, the biggest thing to test yourself is to put yourself constantly in the unknown. You're never going to grow and you're never really going to achieve monumental success by being in your comfort zone. It's never going to happen, right? You guys were talking about it earlier when we opened up the show, which was, you know, this Jacob's ladder, right? Anybody in their right mind would not just jump on that and be like, this is going to be easy, right? You know, they're thinking, right? But they're thinking to themselves, right? Like, I need to test myself. I need to push my limits, my boundaries, and prove to myself that things are, you know, in your grasp if you continuously push yourself to go achieve new things. And that's kind of the way that I just looked at this, which was, hey, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, I fail and I go back to that desk job that I don't want. Right? I have skills, I have qualifications, have a resume, have done some pretty good things, and I can tell a story, right? To whoever's going to potentially hire me. So if that's the worst case scenario that I can wake up and I have my health and my wellness and I get to decide what I want to do with my day, it's not so bad.
Listen, you know, that perspective right there, it's some people can't even stomach that right there. There's so much fear and, you know, jumping out and taking that risk. And they see that as such a huge risk. But what I hear you seeing that is an opportunity, because even in the risk that you're taking, even on you even painted the negative side of your risk as, hey, I'll have a story to tell the next opportunity that I get, man. And that right there, mindset is something that a lot of people, it's hard for them to grasp, you know, because society doesn't really breed people to go in that direction. So, you know, what would you contribute or say contributes to that mindset of yours to be able to think in that way and be able to take on risks that way?
I just feel like I've always been kind of the underdog in a lot of different situations. I grew up playing very, very competitive hockey. Right. And I didn't go to a private school. I didn't have a personal trainer. I don't even think I went to the weight room until I went to high school. OK. And the thing is like, you know, you look at kind of where somebody comes from. And I think, you know, people have a tendency to say, oh, I'm going to put that person in this sort of box. Right. And I kind of feel that same way with people from the Midwest. Right. We're known as incredibly hardworking people. We like our 9-to-5s. We like our retirement. We like our 401k. You know, we like all these things. But not everybody fits that mold. Right. And I started doing that and it wasn't making me happy. I bought the house. I went to the local University of Minnesota, which is a fantastic school. But I was doing all the things to appease other people. Right. And what I found out at the end of the day, that I wasn't happy with those accomplishments. Right. Those were not reflective of how I thought life should be lived. And I'm not, you know, condoning this for everybody. Right. If you have a wife and you have kids and you have a lot of risk, you know, especially downstream for other people, I was a single guy. I was willing to, you know, I put a little bit of money in the bank. I built up a couple of assets. And I said, okay, you know, if I got to sell a couple things or I got to do a couple things, I'm still young, where I've got a long time. Thinking about retirement at 25 is really a weird thing to think about, right? You know, people call you, right? These financial advisors call you at 25. And go, you got to prepare for when you're 63. And I'm like, 63? I'm like, I can't even think about 36 when you move the numbers around, right? So, you know, you start to ask yourself, what's important in life, right? And the number one thing I always defaulted to was, am I going to be that 65-year-old guy who is retired or whatever it is? And I look back into my younger years and I say, what if? And to me, I don't care how big a failure or any of this other kind of stuff that you've been through amongst the years that led up to, let's say, 65. But I never want to be that person who looks back and says, what if? At least I gave it a shot. I tried everything that I wanted to try. And if succeeding or not, or whatever it is, you quantify those things in very different ways. For me, it was about building a company that could change the way an industry was formulated. And I really feel that we are on the path to do that. And that's what's exciting to me. The money will come if you solve a big enough problem that actually has the ability to shift an industry into the future. That's how you build a big company, right? If you solve a big enough problem where there's a lot of people that feel the need to pay for that service because that's how much they need it, then you're going to make the money. But you got to do the right things along the way, and it can't be driven by greed or this desire to just cash.
Man, Jason, I just love the knowledge that you're kicking out right now, because the thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people, they put the money before everything else. You know, somebody said this. Everybody talk about luck, and then the guy said, "Hey, isn't it funny that the people that work the hardest get the best luck?"
And the overnight success took a decade, right? And you ask yourself, it's so easy from the outside looking at somebody else. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it said, you look at somebody who grew up wealthy, right? And you look at them and they go, they didn't have to work for anything in their life, right? But also, you think about it, they have to live up to a certain standard. Otherwise, they're looked at as, whatever, the redheaded stepchild, whatever the analogy is, right? Like you don't fit in this, scheme of things, right? So I don't care who you are, where you come from, right? You have the ability to pave your own path. Some are incredibly harder than others, absolutely. But if you want it bad enough, okay, you have to do all the little things along the way to get yourself into the spots to be able to succeed.
Mm-hmm. So on your journey so far, your company has grown. You guys started off small. You're growing. New opportunities are coming. Was there ever a point where you said, you know what, I don't think this is going to work?
I'm literally going through it right now. Okay. And not from it's not going to work, right? Like, I don't look at things like that. It's just, I look at it as, wow, this is really a monumental thing, right? So, we're going through a period right now where we launched the platform middle of last year, and then we started testing it, all this other kind of stuff. We grew much faster than what we had anticipated, which obviously is a good thing. Okay. But the system from like an infrastructure standpoint was not set up to handle that rapid of growth in that period of time. Right. And you start to look at these things and you say, okay, if you recognize there's a problem, you have a choice, right, in the matter, which is, am I going to just try to sweep this under the rug and ignore it, right? Or am I going to try to take a step back and try to really clear my head and solve this thing and prepare for the next year or 2 years or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in the long run? It's very easy to get caught up in these roadblocks because they happen all the time. And trust me, from a mental capacity standpoint, you got to be pretty tough in order to get through some of these things, right? But once you get out the other side, you can look back. And again, that's part of your journey. That's part of your story. That's part of you building that ability to go accomplish the next bigger thing, right? So the Jacob's ladder is kind of what I'm going through right now. But guess what? Once I get on the other side of that and accomplish that, I'm ready to take on even more monumental tasks in the future. So to me, there's no downside here.
Love the mindset, man. I love the mindset. So how do you, without letting the cat out the bag, because I know every company has their own, secret, how they obtain stuff. How do you walk somebody through, if I was a company and you wanted to gain my business, how do you do that?
Well, I think that we put a really personal touch on how we do business. I still take a lot of the phone calls with the businesses so that they get to know who I am. And I call them directly from my cell phone. I'm not hiding from anything as it pertains to the business. Anybody can get a hold of me. I'm very accessible because I want people to understand how much we care. right? That also is a gift and a curse, right? You get a call at 10 p.m. at night, hey, I need this for tomorrow morning. But these are the little things that at the end of the day, they add up, and companies want to refer you. Companies want to stay with you. Companies trust you. And to me, that's everything. You can't put a price on the fact that a company trusts you with their business, because I know how personal it is. So when I think about the future and what it looks like, I think of companies like American Express and Nordstrom's, these people that have, and even Zappos, right? They've built their companies off of incredible ways to treat people. They treat people nicely, right? Like they care, right? Yeah. And as much as it sounds straightforward, like, yeah, people should care about each other, right? It sounds very simple. But a lot of people feel very transactional with a lot of companies, right? And I feel this way, for cell phone companies or for cable companies for my TV, right? I feel incredibly transactional to these companies all the time, right?
Yep.
And it makes me not want to do business. So unless I'm like, I have to do business with them, then I will, because I need a phone. But now you start to see how many millennials are dropping their cable subscriptions and going with, Roku or Sling or, whatever it is, these smart TVs, download the apps, okay, all this other kind of stuff. But you're seeing that now happen because people realize they have choices. 10 years ago, I didn't have a choice. It was either I stuck this moon dish on my house, okay, or they came in and charged me double to put a box in every single room that had a TV, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And then charged me $10 for the DVR and this and that. And all of a sudden now I'm paying $300 for cable that I watch 3 days a week, right?
Yeah. With horrible customer service.
Horrible customer service. And I only watch 4 channels, but I'm stuck into a package of 120, right? So all of these things, you start thinking about that when you create a business, right? Like look at the companies around you that you love giving them your money.
Amazon.
100%. 100%, right? You love giving them your money. For me, like, I don't know why. Omaha Steaks, right? Every time I've ever shipped Omaha Steaks to somebody, they're like, this is incredible. Everything's perfect. Everything comes on time. It's still well kept. Like, everything is perfect. And yes, it's expensive, but I know when I push that button to buy, I feel good that my transaction is going to go through in the way that I intended to go through. And when you build a company around something like that, people love giving you money.
Thank you for listening to the Success Journey Show. Please follow us on our social media on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at The Success Journey Show. Also, check out our website at thesuccessjourneyshow.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the show.
And Ricky, before you ask that question, because I know I'm going to tell everyone how I met Jason. It's funny. I put my for our show, I put out content every morning, and he liked it. I said, "Hey, thanks for liking it," and he responded. So he's not lying about being very personable, or he's a person interacting. He responded and said, "Hey," and he has a big following, and he said, "Hey, thank you." And we dialogued, and we're having an interview with him now. So I can definitely appreciate and see that what you're saying is what you really do.
And I really like helping people, man. Like I know when I was the 500 follower account or the 1,000 or 1,200 or whatever it is, I was so excited when somebody with like 15,000 followers acknowledged that I did something well. It might seem small to somebody, but I promise you, if each person that had an account went out and found other accounts that had half or 1/5 or 1/10 the following they do, and leave a comment that says, "Great job, keep up the good work," that literally can inspire somebody beyond what you would possibly imagine.
There you go. Love it.
Wow. See, it's crazy, because a lot of people will look at it the other way, Jason. They'll look at it as, I need to get people to look at my page. So I'm not really necessarily, trying to reach out to the ones that have 100, 200 followers, and it's sad that we're actually even talking about followers right now as a, status quo, but it is the reality of, where society is now. And, they were more likely say, "Hey, I'm going to go after the person that has, 100,000 followers, and I'm going to try to be noticed by them." And you completely forget about the people that are behind you, not remembering that you were there once before. And so it's just shifting that paradigm, shifting that perspective, man. and just being that person to say, hey, I'm willing to, as I'm growing, look back and see how I can help grow other people, or inspire other people. And with that, the question I have for you is, in starting your business and growing your business, what were some of the growing pains? I know you said at one point, you guys launched a product that you guys weren't necessarily able to handle at the point, but in terms of like staffing and things of that nature, what are some of the experiences that you've had with having to increase your staff or having to increase some of the contractor staff, however way you guys have things established there? Tell us some of the growing pains or even just the stories that are associated with that.
Well, most people don't understand is that I've been at this for 6 years plus. Mm-hmm. Right. And this overnight success that takes a decade sort of understanding, like, I don't think people truly understand how you have to be cut out for entrepreneurship. It is hands down the most difficult thing I've ever, you can't even imagine how difficult it is until you're living it. Okay.
Yeah.
And Zipkick has pivoted monumentally 3 times. Like monumental, like we're talking almost brand new companies sort of thing. Okay. We started as a travel booking platform, and we were getting a lot of data from a very publicly known company. I'm not going to mention who it was. They shifted their business and started getting into bookings, and we were licensing some data from them to use in our algorithm to do the personalization. And all of a sudden, the next day, it was shut off. I lost half of the data that I needed in order to personalize these searches with no way to turn it back on.
Wow.
Overnight, right? Everything that I was working on for about 1.5 years. Poof. Okay. Talk about being like literally 5.5 feet deep, right? In the grave sort of situation, right? Like I hardly have a breath left. I don't even know what to say. This is the first time I tried to start a company. You went from, talking about acquisition with a company to saying no, to now you don't have a company, right? And that's pretty traumatic for a lot of people, and probably people would throw in the towel at that point, right? But for me, I looked at that and I said, wow, what a big lesson. Never rely on another company to run the core parts of the data around what I need to run a business, right?
Yeah.
Like if the core of my data set revolves around me getting data from somebody else, like literally this is what happened with Facebook and Zynga. If you guys remember way back in the day when Zynga first started building social games on top of Facebook. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the history of what happened there, Facebook at the beginning was like, build your games, right? Oh, don't worry, you can keep all the money. And all of a sudden, hey, we'll take 20%, we'll take 25%, we'll take 40%. And then Zynga,
they can't say no.
And Zynga's like, my entire company is built off of your platform, and I'm going to now have to lay off like 2/3 of my staff, right? And, you look at scenarios like that and you realize you're not the only one who has been put in this situation. I was just put in much earlier. I couldn't imagine what Mark Bigkus was going through when he had to lay off, half or 2/3 of his company when all of this stuff started happening, right? And that's why they diversified into all these other areas of gaming, because you can't just build a company that is kind of one-sided and reliant, right?
Yep. Correct. Yeah.
So that was the first time we pivoted, right? And then we got into, and when I say 3 pivots, I mean kind of like 3 concepts that we had built and deployed and grew. And the second one, after that, I said, never again, we're not relying on anybody else for data. We built the first personalized recommendations specifically from influencers. So think like Yelp, but only the trusted influencers could make those recommendations. So this isn't your guy that eats at McDonald's dollar menu 5 days a week, and then he goes to Ruth Chris and is like, this is too expensive. Right.
Okay.
So we built this personalized way for you to discover restaurants, bars, cafes, wineries, breweries, and distilleries around the world. And actually, the app still exists, but we have not worked on it for a while because we already have all the data there. Okay. And we've built a massive data set there to understand how people like to discover new places. Okay. And now that we have the influencers working with the brands, we now understand the retail buying end of how people are working with different recommendations. So ultimately, tying out all this data, once we're ready to do that, gives us an incredibly powerful data set to do better recommendations for people at the time that they want to see it, right? based on the location and the history of all the things they've interacted with, right? It's no different than your personalized Instagram feed, right? That's just a history of all of these interactions that you've done and all the places you've been and all the places you've tagged and all this other kind of stuff. We're no different in that sense, that we're doing the same sort of thing, but we're doing it in a much more authentic way where people can actually make money off the work that they do, right? Facebook, you'll never earn $1. Instagram, you'll never earn $1. Twitter, you'll never earn $1. You tell me when they cut you a paycheck. Other than YouTube, they're not paying you for doing all this work, right?
Correct.
So if you're going to do all this work on our platform, why are you not getting compensated for that? I think that's a pretty fair way to run a company.
Yes. Yep.
So that's really correct. And that's why we made that last pivot from the search app, right, where people could discover these places, into this platform where we now match the brands with the influencers. That's the next evolution. Okay.
Wow.
And we have evolutions after this that are pretty monumental. But what we really see as the future of this sort of industry, let's just call it digital marketing. All right. Digital marketing encompasses a lot more than just influencer marketing.
Correct.
When we look at companies like public relations companies or media companies or even brands, okay, what they lack more than anything else is one consolidated system for them to run the marketing end of their company. Just like Oracle and SAP built platforms for major corporations to run their business, right? For shipping, customer service, sales, you name it. Nothing exists in the realm of that for the digital media or marketing space. It just doesn't exist. You have independent systems, right? I can go to an influencer marketing platform, then I can go to an SEO platform, then I can run a email marketing campaign, let's say on a MailChimp. And all of a sudden now I'm a marketing person that has 13 logins. Nothing talks to each other. And my boss says, break down the ROI of all the money that I'm giving you. And you're like, okay, I'll come back to you in like, can you give me like 5 days? I need to consolidate all the data. So just think about that, right? And think about what the future could look like. And that's what we're building towards.
Man.
Gotcha.
Now, what I want you to do is, because a lot of people out there, just like you said, there's kids right now that's going to start a company. And yes, the millennials and the ones after and everybody that's looking to start a company, even the older, the Gen X and everybody that's even starting a company. The reason why they're starting a company is they think that their time is going to be just theirs, and they're not going to have to talk about some of the times that you had to put in those late nights or sacrifice the time when everybody else was going out. And, you could also tell them about the good times too, when, because you're your own boss, you say, hey, I'm going to take a 2-week trip to Tahiti or whatever the situation is.
It is the highest of highs and it's the lowest of lows. I promise you that. Okay. Like yesterday I was up at 5 a.m. and I hit the pillow at 2 a.m. Okay. So I was up for 21 hours. There was no breaks in between. Okay. Like, I don't know what a 15-minute or 30-minute break really looks like, because there's something always going. Right. And so what I started to have to do was now my morning between 5 and really 7, that's all dedicated to my health and wellness. So I go to the gym, I get that in before my day even really starts. I try to get out of the gym before the sun comes up. That's the goal. Because then I got that out of the way. I got my mind clear. I have a moment to think in the steam room or the sauna and just mentally prepare for whatever comes my way, right? Because you don't know what it's going to be. And so when I think about, in terms of, how to kind of frame up what people can expect, yes, you can control your time. But if you don't control your time in a very efficient way, you end up wasting a lot of your day. And ultimately, you're not building a business. You're just taking an extended vacation or a sabbatical or whatever it is. One thing that I decided to do for myself was I took a 3-week trip to Japan at the end of 2018. And, something like that, as much as I was looking forward to the trip, I got there. And because of the 17-hour time difference and 14 hours for the East Coast, it was so incredibly hard to work from there. because my calls were at ridiculous hours. And if you've ever been to Japan or know anybody who's been to Japan, their coffee shops don't open up till 7:30, 8 o'clock. Some of them open up at 9, and it's rude for you to talk inside the coffee shop. So now I'm getting up at 6 a.m. I have no coffee shop. I'm walking around freezing. There's wind blowing into the microphone, and people are like, where are you? I don't know, standing in the darkness in Japan, freezing right now, talking to you on some like local cellular network that I hope doesn't charge me $50 to have this phone call, right? Like, this is the reality. And I don't share a lot of these sort of things because, it's part of the journey, but that is the reality, right? And so, I like to joke about these things, but then also like right now, when your system, you have to take it offline because you have to, redo it, and you have to, really start preparing for the future of what you're building. Yeah, it's great that it grew so fast, right? But it grew so fast that we didn't have time to prepare in its entirety, right? Wow. And that's just part of building a business, right? There's things along the way that you have to make sure you get right. And this is one of those moments where you take a step back, you take a deep breath, you communicate to people what's going on, and you say, you know what, we're going to take a couple of days, we're going to get this figured out, and ultimately we're going to come out 10 times stronger than where we are, right? And you have to be thinking like that, and you have to trust in yourself and your team to be able to deliver on those things, right? And that's, I think, really where the connection is built is when you come out the other side and you can breathe a sigh of relief, and you can, really start to think about, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, that sort of thing. So I'm excited, and I think there's nothing at this point that I'm going to look at it and be like, that is too monumental. I don't know what I'm going to do, because I feel like these last 6.5 years, I've probably experienced just about everything to prepare yourself for whatever comes.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Man, I tell you, man, this is just listen to your story, just really your mindset. Man. I am really just, man, wow. Yeah, this is, I'm hearing some of the things that you're saying. It's like, those are the things that I, for myself, an entrepreneurial journey is just keep reminding yourself over and over. Things are not going to happen overnight. Forget about looking at results and just focus on the experience, focus on the journey. There's all those different things, man, that, if you don't take the time to program and wrap your mind around and just really lock in on, you can get easily distracted, easily discouraged with the ups and downs, that are guaranteed to happen. It's inevitable that they're going to happen. So just hearing your mindset going through it, and just equipping yourself, getting yourself locked in, loaded in the mornings to prepare yourself for the day, willing to give it all that you have throughout the day, no breaks here and no breaks there. And, just to really accomplish what you have in front of you and take advantage of everything that you have in front of you. And I really appreciate hearing you share that with us and just the world and our travelers today. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you guys. And kind of one thing just to kind of leave the listeners with is you got to be very careful about the information that you're allowing to come into your life. And, the saying something along the lines of, the media loves to pick up kind of the negative stories, right? Like the stuff that really sparks people, right? And gets people kind of whatever. And, we live in a world today where kindness is still free, and you can still allow that to kind of run how you think about things. But I've really tried to consciously remove like daily news, this kind of stuff, and surround that and really replace that with more of, motivational videos, podcasts, go to YouTube and learn something, right? And this kind of stuff. So you got to be very careful. Like I was recently listening to a podcast that said, win the first hour of your day, and even win the first 1% of your day by preparing yourself what you're going to do the other 99%. And just when you think about that for a second, what do you do the first thing when you wake up? What do you think about before you go to bed? Try to get that right.
Yeah.
And start there, right? If you're trying to figure out how to start building yourself for the future, how do you start your day? How do you finish your day? Because I think a lot of people, they wake up, they might lay in bed for a half hour, 45 minutes, check social media, do this, do that, or whatever, super distracted. And their day is already off course before they get started.
Yeah.
Jason, man, I'm telling you, everything, what you're saying right now, I was like, it was going through my mind. Along with the podcast, and I'm in the Marine Corps, and I do real estate stuff on the side. I have a lot on my plate, and I was feeling kind of overwhelmed. And just like you said, I had to sit back, look at the bigger picture. And I had to also, what I did was lock in by listening. I listened to Bigger Pockets. I don't know, I'm giving them a shout out on this. I listened to Bigger Pockets, and I had to just put it in and listen to somebody that went through the exact same thing I'm going through right now, and just lock in. And you're so right that a lot negative is what runs. If you want to blow up, say something negative and people gravitate to you.
Which is the weird world that we live in, right? And when you ask yourself what really matters at the end of the day, you have to understand your why. Like, what is your purpose? Like, what do you want to be known for, right? And I'm not saying be famous, right, per se, right? I'm saying, what do you want people to know about you and remember about you when you move on, right? You want people to be able to look at you and say, wow, what an incredible person, X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank, right? But if you don't have a why, how are you going to leave a lasting impact on people that hopefully is positive?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Travelers World, you heard it, man. I mean, I'm not even going to add anything onto that. I'm going to let that sit and resonate with you. So, Jason, before we let you go, and like I said, we really appreciate your time and spending some time with us today on this call. If the listeners want to contact you, reach out to you, follow you, what are some ways in which they can do that?
So I really operate off of 3 different accounts. So I've got Zipkick, which is our main company account. I am a massive foodie. So that's my Jason, the letter B, and then WILL. And then I have kind of a health and wellness kind of journey of sorts. And that's Will Fluids. So I like to talk about all natural products, talk about kind of inspirational things, and try to motivate people in hopefully a positive direction. So I try to do all of these things to, give kind of an idea of my personality and, hopefully inspire some people.
Perfect. Well, listeners, we come to the end of another great show. We hope that you're enjoying these. And if you are, go to our website at the successjourneyshow.com. Sign up to be a subscriber, or even go to the iTunes or whatever platform that you listen to this podcast and leave a review. Share with us how these podcasts are inspiring your life, motivating you, and empower you to do some great things in your life and in the communities that are around you. We thank you again for listening and joining us another week, and we will be with you again next week at the same time, the same place on the Success Journey Show. Thank you. Have a good one.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.